Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 5 of the Chisscast. If you're new here, this is a podcast solely and purely dedicated to my love for Grand Admiral Thrawn and adjacent characters and settings and that kind of stuff. But if you're not new here, then hi and welcome back. I missed y'all. Well, it hasn't been that long this time around, but I had so much fun doing the last one that I couldn't wait to to record another one. And we have a few things to discuss. First of all, last time I skipped Chiss News. the phrase Chiss News still everything just about this whole thing makes me laugh. Okay, whatever. I'm just laughing at myself. I'm laughing at the fact that I'm doing a Chiss podcast. I'm still laughing at myself for that. Maybe I shouldn't, because you guys seem to enjoy it. I enjoy it, so what's there to laugh about? Well, either way, it's fun. So basically, we skipped Chiss News last time because I was just so passionate and excited to talk about, what is that? Choices of One. Every single time I talk about Choices of One, I want to say Chaos Rising because it starts with a C. But yeah, we talked about Choices of One last time, and it was the longest podcast episode. But today, I feel like there have been things that happened, like little tidbits that happened in Thrawn world, in Chiss world, that are worth discussing. So let's get to Chiss News! The first thing on our list is the thing that many of us have been waiting for and begging for, and the thing that has been teased since January, I think. It's the Thrawn editorial playlist made by editor Tom. He promised us that playlist, and so far he only revealed the first 5 songs to it. But in my humble opinion, these 5 songs are very telling. There's quite a lot to unpack in these few songs. So, I don't know, maybe I'll open up the lyrics, but I listened to the 5 songs when basically he tweeted those, the screenshot, the Spotify screenshot of these first 5 songs. I listened to them then and there in that moment, and I had some thoughts on them. So the first song is For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. That sounded to me, I don't know when some of these songs were released, but that sounded to me like an older song. And it felt like the kind of vibe that, the kind of setting that the book would have in general. Like, it reflects the setting, like, the energy of something's coming, something's going on, like something is about to happen. So, I feel like that's going to be the start of the book. Something's coming. Actually, I went straight to the playlist, but I forgot that I was also going to talk about the fact that the official description or synopsis of the plot for Chaos Rising was released. But it was released a while ago, and there was quite a large gap between episode 3 and episode 4 of this podcast, so I didn't talk about it when it came out. I did tweet about it, but I tweet every day. So the synopsis basically said that there's going to be a strange attack that strikes at the very heart of Scylla, like the very capital of the Chiss ascendancy, and it's going to be very like the catalyst that propels the plot, the events of the book. So, first of all, I hope Thrawn's parents don't die, because I'm not ready for that much pain that soon. So I also hope that Thras doesn't die, because we will have been robbed of seeing Thras again in this trilogy. And I hope that he is a prominent character, because good God, I miss him. But, and then, the attack happens, and Chiss, baffled, they use the word baffled in the description. The Chiss, baffled, send a young military officer named Mithron Rhoda, or rather given the name. So that is another reminder that we're going to see Thrawn's birth name in this book. That is gonna be exciting. If it's going to be just raw, I'm going to be so not just disappointed, but also just like I will scream forever, because raw really really, I mean, it's fitting. I can't complain about that. Like, it would be fitting for a young Thrawn to be named Raw. And you know, Star Wars has a way with names, as I've discussed in the last episode, and surely I've talked about it before. But yeah, if Thrawn's birth name is just Raw, I'm gonna be so fucking mad. Seriously, fight me, Timothy. So back to the playlist. The first song, kind of, I feel like it reflects that you know, like something's coming and something's about to happen. It's just gonna go down. But it's a pretty chill song. And editor Tom did say that some of these just were picked because of the mood. Like, and I understand what it means, because sometimes when you make a playlist for a character, sometimes the song just has the vibe. And like, the lyrics don't always match. They don't always reflect that character, but the vibe, the overall vibe really does. So I kind of feel why he said that. But I feel like these, at least the first 4 songs, are pretty accurate. Like they feel like what you would expect from young Thrawn, especially since we have seen young Thrawn before in Outbound Flight, and I have a feeling it's going to be really similar, if not more chaotic, because I presume this Thrawn is going to be even younger than we'd ever seen him before. But that's just my guess, because that is not going off of anything solid. That's just my guess. Okay, so the second song was You're Gonna Go Far, Kid by The Offspring. Now that was some edgy music. I cannot believe that, like, I always known that Thrawn definitely had a punk phase. Like, an emo phase, scene phase, punk phase, goth phase, pastel goth phase, whatever you want to call it. Thrawn was definitely that kid who had an alternative phase. You cannot change my mind. So, and the lyrics also were definitely very chaotic. Like, I'm too lazy to pull up the exact lyrics, but basically the song had the vibe of this kid is gonna fuck shit up, but also in a very ambitious way. And seeing that we have been told that the type of shenanigans that Thrawn will be up to will greatly upset the other ruling families. Yeah, I can tell. I can tell from this song, or rather, the song sounds very much like that. Kind of similar vibe is song number 4, High Hopes by Panic at the Disco. Now this is more optimistic, I would say, more happy, like just like very idealistic, which I am very happy to see, because I want to see Thrawn idealistic and very, how do I say it, more optimistic, a little bit more naive, you know, a little bit more youthful and childlike. I pray and beg that is going to be the case. I want that so fucking bad. I hope it's not going to be just basically Thrawn in every other book, because we met him in Alliances and he was, I assume he was around Anakin's age, so like 23, maybe 25. So, and he wasn't really much different from the way that Thrawn is written in other new canon books. So I really hope that this time we actually see him be a little bit more youthful and idealistic and stuff like that. That is my one hope. Well, one among many. I actually have many hopes and expectations for this book. And that's probably not good, because it's better to have zero expectations when going into anything. But you can't help but have expectations when you care about something so deeply. So High Hopes was another song that gave me the young idealistic Thrawn vibes. And then the last song is song number 3. And the reason why I went not in a row was because Lost Boy by Ruth B. I don't know. Basically, the song Lost Boy was something else. It was basically, all the Peter Pan references and stuff like that. Like, that is much to think about. But overall, the song had that vibe of just living in your own little world, sometimes too much. And not only I can relate to that deeply, but also if that's gonna be the case with Thrawn, I'm gonna be so happy because that's so relatable. Like, I can totally imagine him being that kid, and that person in general who's just, always lost in his own little world, in his mind, just like daydreaming about whatever he daydreams about. Like, that would be so cool to see and so relatable, and I think that's definitely what young Thrawn would be like as a person. And then song number 5 was The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand. Now, I didn't really get that song, I didn't really vibe with it, so it's kind of an odd one, so I hope it doesn't, because the song I think is about a lost love, basically reminiscing about someone you've loved once, so I don't know. I don't think we're gonna, like, see Thrawn, have, like, angsty feelings towards someone in a romantic way. Like, love has always been a part of Star Wars, but it's never been a main part. And I don't think that Timothy Zahn is gonna give Thrawn like a high school sweetheart type thing. Like, I can't, like, I could see it happening, I'm not ruling it out as a possibility, but also I just don't think it'll happen. So I wonder what this song is about. Like, is it just because of the vibe? Once again, well, we will only find out when we read the book, I guess. So I didn't really pay much attention to that last song, but the other 4 songs really made me think about. The other 4 songs really gave me a pretty good idea of what to expect from Thrawn's character. And I can only hope that it's going to be the case, because if it's not, I'm gonna be Boo-Boo the fool who overanalyzes things. But hey, that's part of the fun. So, moving on. As I said, the official description, or the synopsis, or the summary of the not the summary of the plot, but like just the summary of the initial plot. I forgot what the thing is called. Description of the book. I don't know, there are so many different names for these things. Whatever, the description that you see on the back of the books or on all the websites. So the attack that happens in Scylla shakes the ascendancy. That is, actually I can probably look it up. Alright, so beyond the edge of the galaxy lie the unknown regions, chaotic, uncharted, and near impassable, with hidden secrets and dangers in equal measure. And nestled within its swirling chaos is the ascendancy, home to the enigmatic Chiss. Enigmatic, ooh, that's sexy. And the 9 ruling families that lead them. The peace of the ascendancy, a beacon of calm and stability, is shattered after a daring attack on the Chiss capital that leaves no trace of the enemy. Baffled, the Ascendancy dispatches one of its brightest young military officers to root out the unseen assailants. I love that Thrawn is one of its brightest young military officers. I am so proud of our boy. I am so fucking proud. He's doing amazing, honestly, and if anybody even dares to touch him, I am going to snap. So, where were we? A recruit born of no title but adopted into the powerful family of the myth and given the name Thrawn. We love that. We fucking love that. I just get so excited reading this, like, yes, my boy, yes. With the might of the expansionary fleet at his back and the aid of his comrade, Admiral Aralani, answers begin to fall into place. But as Thrawn's first command probes deeper into the vast stretch of space his people call the chaos, he realizes that the mission he has been given is not what it seems, and the threat to the Ascendancy is only just beginning. Now, if that ain't sexy, I don't know what is. So, first of all, besides me gushing about how proud I am of Thrawn, because my boy is called one of the brightest military officers, and he is given his first command, and he is going on a mission, and I am so proud of him. I can't. So, aside from that, let's talk about the fact that Aralani is with him. Aralani is back, and I'm so excited, and she's gonna be so tired of Thrawn's shit. She's gonna be so fucking tired. And I cannot wait for that dynamic, because the little bit of that dynamic that we saw in Treason was absolutely incredible. Basically, Lonnie just, like, having no chill and yelling at Thrawn for his bullshit. But she was practically yelling at him only in Chiyun, so none of that was really translated. But now we're going to actually see her yell at him, and just like, it's gonna be so chaotic. I cannot fucking wait. This dynamic is god tier. Add Thras into the mix, and we're gonna have Thrawn being an absolute chaotic little bastard and giving Thras and Aralani so many headaches. Oh god, I can't wait. I can't believe that we still have to wait 5 more months for this damn book. Jesus. God is unfair. Anyway, so the description it's so exciting. And from that, leading into the Star Wars books Q&A, one of the questions they answered was what sort of shenanigans Thrawn will be getting into in Chaos Rising, and they said, I actually was surprised that they answered any question about Chaos Rising at all, because they still don't give us any excerpts, even though the book is finished. So, they did answer that question, and they basically said that Thrawn is gonna get into the sort of shenanigans that will really, really upset and anger other ruling families. I'm surprised that it won't anger the Myth family, because, Thrawn apparently is so good at fucking up that even his own ruling family is like, dude, this ain't it. So I wonder what he's gonna uncover or do that will upset the other families and not the Myth family, because, if it's gonna be a preemptive strike, I would assume that, even his own family would be upset, because, it's a universal Chiss philosophy that preemptive strikes is a big no-no. So what is he gonna do that's gonna upset the other families and not his own family? I'm very curious about that. And finally, the most important bit of news that you could ever think of is that Eli Vento's favorite Pop-Tart flavor is strawberry. Now that is literally the most important thing that I've ever heard in my life. Literally just like government level importance. And apparently that information came from Timothy Zahn himself. He wrote that in an email to his editor. Can you fucking... I'm just like... It makes me so incredibly happy that Mr. Timothy Zahn has... just like thinks of what his character's favorite Pop-Tart flavor would be. That is God tier. And I pray to God, I pray and hope that we get to hear more of these tidbits from him, because I want to know everything. I want to know, like, hell, I want to know what Karen Farrow's favorite Pop-Tart flavor is. I want to know how Thrawn feels about Pop-Tarts. I want to know if Thrawn himself is actually good at art. I want to know whether Eli likes to sleep with the door open or closed. I want to know if Thrawn prefers tea or coffee. I want to know what Thrawn's favorite color is. These are all things that are super important, and I want to know them all, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Just these little details, they just always make my day. Like, literally, when I heard that Eli's favorite Pop-Tart flavor is strawberry, I literally, like, there were little tears in my eyes. I literally cried about Eli Vento loving strawberry Pop-Tarts, and later I drew it, and actually one of the editors saw it, so that was really nice. I just love little things like that. So, we've been, that is quite a long segment of Chiss News, but it's been quite a while. I don't know if I'm forgetting something. If I will remember something, I will talk about it eventually, because there is never enough Thrawn content to talk about. But now, actually, I have a list. Let's look at the list. What did I miss? Oh yeah. Another thing is that it's not really news, but I still wanted to mention it. So basically, the Art of Star Wars Rebels book that was supposed to come out last year is apparently finally coming out next month. You know, it was supposed to come out in March, then it was supposed to come out this month, and now it's coming out the next month. And finally, some people got some previews somewhere. And the previews are nice, but my question is, where is the blue man? I'm gonna need all the blue man. I hope we see some reject sketches in that book, because that book is big and expensive. I think it's $60, and there's a special edition that's $100. So it's probably a big book. And if we don't see some sort of reject concept art sketches of Thrawn, then what is the point? You know, I want to see all the Thrawn stuff that they have that they've made for the show. I want to see it up close and personal. I want to see reference pictures. God, I hope we get that. So can't wait for next month when that may or may not happen. So yeah, I hope we get. I'm just at this point. I'm just so I will go feral over any and all Thrawn crumbs. Literally, I watched that Star Wars books Q&A just for the Thrawn content. It was a good Q&A. It was fun. The editors were really fun, and I had a good time all throughout. But let's be honest, I was just watching for the Thrawn crumbs, and they delivered. They delivered more than I expected. So the another topic that I wanted to discuss was crisis of faith. Last time I talked about Choices of One entirely throughout the entire podcast episode, and practically immediately after that, I read Crisis of Faith because I love the dynamic of Thrawn and Nuso Eswa. I feel there's no such dynamic in any other Thrawn book. Nuso Eswa is probably the only enemy that Thrawn ever had that was kind of equal to him. But then again, Thrawn proved to be even, that much smarter than Nuso Eswa. But Nuso Eswa came as close to being equal to Thrawn as it is possible to come, I think. So it was a really intriguing dynamic, and I loved their evil villain flirting in Choices of One. That was my favorite thing out of that entire book. It was so cool. And I know that it's basically just based off of Sherlock and Moriarty. One of my mutuals on Twitter actually told me that Nuso Eswa is I don't know what the what the technical term is, but it's basically like derived from the word Moriarty. It's just each vowel is moved one vowel over, and each consonant is moved one consonant over. And then you get Nuso Eswa. So I know that's basically just like a copy of that, but the dynamic is so fucking good. So I read Crisis of Faith, and I cried. Surprise. It was actually a surprise to me, like, actually, honestly, a surprise, because I've known Nuso Eswa for, like, one book, and then one short story, and I cried. I was devastated. So the short story, if you've never read it, and if you plan to read it, well, obviously spoilers ahead, but if you've never read it and don't plan to read it, it's basically about Thrawn and Nuso Eswa's last battle. And it takes place apparently about a few months, a month, or like a few weeks before Heir to the Empire. So Thrawn at that point is still in the unknown regions, battling his own battles and also building his secret Empire of the Hand that apparently Palpatine had no idea about. It's interesting because in the new canon, Thrawn couldn't be that secretive, and I feel like in the new canon, Thrawn is a much tighter spot than he was in Legends. So anyway, Thrawn is he has cornered the Bug Boy to a single, fairly primitive world. And of course, Bug Boy, in turn, has basically, what's the word? Not enslaved, basically manipulated this queen of a insectoid species, and promised her, eternal life and eternal reign of her city and of her entire planet, just so he could defeat Thrawn. Okay, so the first thing that I really loved about that short story, it was once again written by Timothy Zahn. The one thing that I really loved is how the alien culture was portrayed. And the alien culture, the species was insectoid, and they were fairly primitive. They had a queen that basically, like a beehive or an ant's nest. They had a queen that they served, and the way that it was written, it is very hard to describe unless you actually read the story. But the way that it was written really made it feel alien. The way that the things were described, all the sayings, the phrasing, everything was familiar, but just slightly weird. It was obviously all written in English, and there weren't really many non-English made-up names, except for, the places themselves. But, it was written just strangely enough so that you would feel the alienness of that world. I absolutely love that. I love how the point of view that we see that culture through is told from a being who is not the smartest of his people. He's kind of in the middle, I think. So there's a lot of things that he's very loyal, and there's a lot of things he's just unsure of but not really questioning. It was such an interesting perspective, and I feel like being thrown into a brand new world like that is at the core of Star Wars. It's why the first movies, it's why the original trilogy worked so well. You're being thrown into a world and nothing is explained to you. You're just you're given names and you're supposed to piece it together by yourself, and I think that's really cool. So that was one of my favorite things about the short story. Also, when Nuso Eswa said, "Let us speak to the destruction of Grand Admiral Thrawn," I thought that was very sexy. Once again, there wasn't any evil flirting in this short story, but there were still moments where I was like, wow, that's hot. Also, a quote I highlighted was, "Of all those attacked, only Thrawn had shown the skill and resolve necessary to block Nuso Eswa's expansion and eventually to begin driving him back. I love my smart, clever boy so much. He's a garbage boy, but he's so smart and that's so sexy. Oh yes, this is a quote that I captioned. Local evil nerd in love with his evil nerd nemesis. And the quote is, your obsession with Art Grand Admiral Thrawn is more unsettling than your obsession with Nuso Eswa himself. I'm glad that his subordinates acknowledge the fact that Thrawn has an obsession with Nuso Eswa. Yes, Thrawn, I know that he's hot. I think so too. Also a quote from Thrawn himself. At any rate, we cannot allow the common people of this galaxy to suffer merely because their leaders sometimes refuse to face the universe's realities. I actually really love this quote because I feel like that is, of course, like Thrawn, like it kind of explains why he did what he did in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. Of course, like he's still a villain. He's still shitty. He still did shitty things. But like it's so very Thrawn. And I like the sentiment about, like we can't allow these people to suffer just because their leaders refuse to see the things the way they are and refuse to acknowledge things that are wrong. I really like that sentiment. It just got here. Like, I mean, I know that Timothy Zahn loves Thrawn, and he wants to make Thrawn to be as good of a person as he can be while being the villain. And I totally understand that because that's what happens when you love a character. It's just so endearing to see. Oh, I also love how the aliens call Thrawn of the first of the Chiss of the Empire of the Hand. I think that's a really cool way to say it. Also another quote that I captioned that is such a cute way to say it was once again from the aliens in the book, saying, Thrawn is able to read the hidden hearts of people through their choice of artwork. To read the hidden hearts of people. That I just think that's adorable. Honestly, that's such a cute expression. Oh yeah, also Thrawn being excited will never not be precious. We first let him think his plan is working, Thrawn said. That means sending the line of juggernauts in, as he expects. His eyes glittered. But before he can launch his attack, we destroy the trap. Whenever, I've seen this first in Outbound Flight, and then since then I've seen it in Choices of One, and now this. Thrawn, Timothy Zahn writing that Thrawn's eyes glittered. The only thing that I can imagine when I read that is the anime eye sparkles, the uwu eye sparkles. That's what I see when I read his eyes glittered. And if that ain't cute as shit! Oh, also when Thrawn told everybody his plan and everybody was like, babe, honey, that ain't gonna work. And Thrawn's like, about that. And of course he pulled through at the end. I just love how he just doesn't explain things to people if he doesn't feel like it, honestly. And it still works out. I love him. Also, Nuso Eswa being excited about facing Thrawn is also really hot because as we've known already, because as we already know, they're in love. Nemesis loving Nemesis. Excellent, Nuso Eswa said with an almost eager satisfaction in his voice. You can't make that shit up. You can't make that shit up. They just excited to fight each other. If that ain't sexy, I don't know what is. Oh, I captioned this. I love how he talks about Thrawn, and I don't remember what this actually says, so let's read it together. Excellent, Nuso Eswa said, his lips curled back, his faceted yellow eyes intent on a line of 8 large monitors the other storm hares had set up in the dwelling of guest gathering area. Also, I love how the Nuso Eswa species are described as storm hares, which made me imagine and paint his hair sort of like not really curly, like a cloud, but very fluffy and all over the place. So I really love that little comparison. Thrawn is nothing if not always precisely unscheduled. He gestured to one of the monitors. Observe, O Queen, here come his soldiers. I just think that they have the potential to be one of the coolest dynamics in all of Star Wars. And it is a fucking Legends short story and another Legends book. And they're severely slept on. Like, literally. I went to the Nuso Eswa tag in Archive of Our Own. And that was the first time that I went into that I wanted to look for a specific ship on Archive of Our Own. Like, I wanted to look for a fanfiction for a specific ship, and there wasn't any. Like, that's how rare this is. And I know that there are, like, rare pairs in new canon, too, and in other fandoms, but this is my first experience with, like, a true rare pair. But no worries, I'll make my own content then. Oh yeah, I captioned this, Eswa, you slimy little fuck. The quote is, the cannons that he inclined his head. The cannons that your work has set up. Oh yeah, when he was basically saying that the cannons that I set up, and the queen corrected him. The cannons that me and my workers set up. And so I was like, yeah, right. He's totally not manipulating her. No, I just love how terrible he is. Like that's how I started with us. That's how I started out with Thrawn. I just love how terrible he is. Like just a garbage boy. Oh, also, they had this whole plan, about seeing Nuso Eswa's, like, the artwork that Nuso Eswa picked, and based on that, Thrawn, depicts or assumes his tactics and devises a plan, and then Nuso Eswa goes to say, which you should have realized from the beginning, Nuso Eswa said. How else do you think the Circling was actually willing to pretend to treason? He acted that way under his queen's order so that he could persuade you to take the pictures I wanted Thrawn to have. So basically Nuso Eswa knew about it, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? How did he know? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because Nuso Eswa is also a military genius. That's the reason why he could stand up to Thrawn for so long. It's been said that their war had lasted 10 years. So I think, like, if you are able to stand against Thrawn for 10 years straight, I think that's quite an achievement. So at this point I was shook that Nuso Eswa knew about Thrawn's plan. Artwork carefully selected to lead our oh-so-clever Grand Admiral to exactly the wrong conclusions about my strategy. That's, once again, Nuso Eswa speaking, and I was so terrified. I was like, holy shit, shit's going down, Thrawn, no, baby, no! But of course, it's Thrawn, he always comes through. I also tweeted at one point, Thrawn, with all due respect, what the fuck are you doing, sweetheart? And I feel like that's a universal sentiment among all of his fans, and also among all of the people in the universe who work with him. Oh yeah, also when Park was worried about Thrawn, and he was like, had this become personal? And I was like, no shit. They're in love with each other, of course it's become personal. Also, Thrawn seeing that Captain Park is worried about him, and reassuring him without Park even asking. That was one of the cutest things in a Thrawn book. Because just, like, he appreciates his officers so much. Like, his officers worry about him, and he appreciates his officers. Like, he knows that they worry, and he appreciates it. And it's just like I just love that Thrawn attracts and recruits the kinds of people that are very loyal, and they genuinely care about him, and he genuinely cares about them. It's just like, it's the dream. It's how the world should work. Okay, it's very late. And I'm just, my filter is gradually deteriorating. Also, another quote from the aliens. What kind of leader was this Thrawn that his people willingly gave up their lives at his command? The best kind. Truly the best kind. I love Thrawn so much. Also, I tweeted Nuso Eswa is so feral and sexy. I love him. Like, the fact that Nuso Eswa got so scared and terrified and he went full feral at the end, that was a spiritual experience. There is trouble, the queen repeated. Nothing that can be handled, Nuso Eswa growled, his voice barely within the limits of civility. As soon as your soldiers breach the juggernauts, and that, he broke off. I just love how he's just, visibly loses his shit when he realizes that he's losing. I haven't failed, Nuso Eswa said, turning his head back to the monitors. The juggernauts are useless to us? Fine, there are other targets that will serve. I just love the little fine. He's completely lost it, and I love that. Meanwhile, Thrawn's winning and is absolutely calm. I feel like the thing that I love about Nuso Eswa, the thing that I love most about him is that not only is he almost as clever as Thrawn, but unlike Thrawn, he is not calm. He's way more unhinged than Thrawn. He's just feral, unhinged, and just he's terrible. He's terrible. He's just plain terrible, and I love that. Also, my tweet in caps lock, he killed the queen! Because Thrawn basically made it so that the queen's soldiers head back to the palace, not to kill anyone, but just to, surround the guests and protect them. I feel like that was the order. And of course, Eswa didn't know that, and in panic, he killed the queen. And then, of course, when it wasn't written, but basically you were supposed to assume that when the soldiers came back to the palace and saw that the queen is dead, they automatically killed Nuso Eswa and his people. And that's how he died. Thrawn didn't even see that. Thrawn didn't even talk to Nuso Eswa. There was no sexy villain flirting. So, after he died, I was like, wait, just like that? And then I finished the story, and the story ends on basically Thrawn telling Captain Park that he's going to the Empire. He's going back to the Empire, and he's going to restore it, or at least attempt to restore it. Well, he didn't say attempt to. He said that he's going to restore it, I think. I don't remember. And Park was worried about him, and Thrawn was like, oh, I'm taking the bodyguard with me, which was obviously Rook. Park was still worried, and rightfully so. And I finished the book, and I sat there thinking about how Thrawn ended a 10-year war with his biggest rival yet. And then, a month later, or a few months later, he died himself. And I just felt so sad. And I cried because I love Thrawn, and I have come to love Nuso Eswa just from that one book and this one short story. And it's not only sad when things end, but it's also sad when characters die that you have somehow managed to grow attached to, even if said characters are little shits who are terrible and they're villains and they're bad. I just really love Nuso Eswa and his energy. Like I said, his absolutely feral energy. The energy that a feral Thrawn has, Nuso Eswa has that times 10. And I love that. And especially, the fact that they're called storm hares. I just imagine him being, a big feral sexy bug. And that is pushing all my alien fucker buttons. It is 11 p.m. and I should go to bed. But yeah, I love this. I love the short story. I also started reading Side Trip, but I stopped because it wasn't as engaging at first. But it's still really fun. It's literally Thrawn in Boba Fett cosplay, not just in Boba Fett cosplay, but pretending to be a bounty hunter. And there was quite a few hilarious things in that. But that's for another episode. I think I'm gonna finish reading it. And then I'm gonna talk about it. So that'll be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it as always. I will see you guys next time. And may the warriors. I said may the. I want to say may warriors fortune smile on your efforts, but my mouth wanted to say may the force be with you. So may the force be with you, and may warriors fortune smile on your efforts.